All right. All right, lads and lassies. Lads and lassies. Starting to say that more in these videos now. Starting to say it more in these lives as well. How is everyone keeping? How are we all doing today? Let's make sure that everything is all G on my end, which it looks that way. And then we'll get going. We'll get going. We'll get streaming. We'll get talking. I mean, I literally didn't have much to talk about today. Didn't know what I'd be doing. I knew I wanted to stream, but I didn't know what I wanted to talk about. And then I see everyone taking their Don King videos down. Well, not taking them down, getting them taken down. I'm like, we have something to talk about. We have something to talk about. We got other things to talk about as well. Taylor Ramirez, Billy Joe Canelo, Fury Joshua. There's always something to talk about. There's always something to talk about. But Don King, lads and lassies, what do we have to say about Don King? He's not letting us YouTube. Well, I'm all right. I didn't cover that fight, but he is not letting the YouTubers go. He is. Even the YouTubers are now starting to get into his grasp. Don King. I seen Mark. I seen Dell. I think a few other guys ended up getting a strike off King. It's not good. It's not good. The poor guy. The poor guy. Put it like this, right? Bob Arum's never copyrighted me. Eddie Hearn's never, even Frank Warren's never copyrighted me. But I thank God I didn't do this card. I had a feeling, right? Call me crazy. Don't ask me why. But I remember when I seen the lads like Dell and Mark do their post fights. And I obviously didn't stay up for that card. I wasn't staying up for that card. And I remember thinking to myself, will I do a review of this fight? Like Saturday. And I was like, will I do a review? Because I watched it Saturday morning. And I was like, will I do a review of this fight or will I just leave it? Will I review it or will I just leave it? And then I was like, Then I was like, no, I don't want to. And then I just got to thinking, this is just me. I was just like, I wonder, would there be any issues with doing a review of that card, knowing the way Don King is, knowing that he probably he'd sell you out if he thought, if he thought you'd make even £2 off that video, he'd want some of that. And then I remember just thinking, nah, I'm not gonna. And then I was like, I'm only gonna start ranting as well. But I swear, I was so relieved. I feel bad on the guys, but I was so relieved that I didn't do a review of that fight, because I've got a copyright strike once on YouTube. Once. That was nearly 2 years ago. I'll tell you how it was from Showtime as well. And that's the funny thing, right? It seems like the guys who copyright people are the real old school type of guys. So I remember I got a copyright strike once for Wilder versus Brazil. They copyrighted my post-fight review for that. That was about 2 years ago. It's gone. I never re-uploaded it. It's gone now. It's long gone. They copyrighted that. And then that was it. That was fine. I remember Hatman said once that I think it was Usyk versus Machunu. That was in 2016. That was on HBO. That got copyrighted. And I know Mark's had a DAZN strike once or twice. And I know Jeff, he's got a DAZN strike. And now Dell and a few others have a Don King strike. So for me, the DAZN ones are different. But for me, it seems like that King, HBO, when they were doing boxing and Showtime, they're the ones who don't really seem to get it. They're probably not with the times, and they're the ones who are more likely to strike you. Now, HBO don't box anymore, and I put it like this, right? After that copyright strike, that was when? 2019? When have you ever seen me do DAZN cards? Or not DAZN cards. When have you ever seen me cover Showtime cards on this channel? Very seldom do I cover Showtime fights. I learned the lesson from that way back then. Right, I learned the lesson. Don't cover those cards, because there's a good chance they could strike you. I don't want to get any strikes on this channel. But and it's mad as well, because you literally put it everywhere in the video. You put a disclaimer that it's got no footage. It says it in this title that it's got no footage. But a lot of these guys don't check. They just see like a snippet of the fight. They're like, oh, he's got my fight. So they end up copyrighting you. It's crazy the way they do things. I just don't get it. But anyway, we get to your comments. Yo, big up to Rich, big up G-Man, hashtag G-Man's Rocks, of course, every time. Big up to you, man. You're gonna have trouble with names again. I hope not. I mean, I was fucking embarrassed on Sunday with that. I felt bad on the poor girl. Like, I really could not pronounce her name for anything, and it was quite a simple name. It was quite a simple name. I felt, hopefully not. Hopefully there's no names that I'll struggle with in this chat. Hopefully not. Don King won't let anyone criticize his card. Apparently not. Apparently you criticize Don King at your own risk, man. You criticizing Don King at your own risk. Definitely. Big up to Brendan. Yo, big up to the judge, Judge Durham. Evening, G-Man. Respect from the judge. There we go. Judge, jury, and executioner. There we go, bro. There we go. Big up to Tawed Ali. Big up to G-Man and the chat. Big up to you, man. Big up to Pakev. Big up to you. Big up to Limo. Evening, G. Evening, my man. You've been wondering why Don King is even a thing in 2021, despite the world literally knowing how he operates. I'm amazed. I'm amazed that now Stavern has been with King for years and years and years. I think, I could be wrong, but I think Stavern actually turned pro with Don King. I know he's been with King for many years. Oh, it's been years and years and years. I think when he lost his first fight, and his first fight was a bad stoppage, he was not remotely hurt. That was in 2007. That was on the Don King card. So Stavern's been with King for years. But guys like Martirosyan, Brian, Lovejoy, signing with Don, you know, what Don King, and he still does it because Martirosyan said this, is that what King does is he gives you like the sign-on incentive. So basically what he does is he say you give Don King a time of day. Say you put it like this, right? You're a boxer up and coming. You've not really got much of an amateur background. You've not really done too much. So you're your options for promoters are not great. You're not likely to get an Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren or someone like that. You're not likely to get that, or Bob Arum. So you look at some of these smaller promoters, right? Some of these smaller promoters may get you out on shows. They may get you here, there, but maybe you're having to, sell a lot of tickets. You're having to pay to get on the shows, etc., etc., etc. And then along comes Don King. He gives you because I think with Martirosyan, he gave him I think it was 400 grand or something sign-on incentive he gave him just to, sign with him. Martirosyan obviously goes, takes the whole money. But then you're in that deal with Don King, and that's when the vicious cycle starts to take place. That's when you start having the issues. And that, what's the word? Is it incentive or something like that they call it? That has to be paid back. So that 400 grand, you get it, but Don King is taking basically, I think someone said it, the only way to not end up broke with Don King is if you are making Anthony Joshua, Canelo Alvarez, Tyson Fury type money, because then you've enough money to, keep Don King happy and enough money to feed your family. But if you're not, you're struggling. You're struggling big time. So I think that's been, and amongst other things with Don King as well. So for me, why anyone would sign with him, especially today, knowing what, it's not just the fact that he's not putting on any shows, but knowing what you know. I mean, I coined it in a video I done about Don King last week, and I said, if you go for a job interview and you see that, go on one of the websites like Glassdoor or something like that, it will give you reviews of the job from an employee's point of view. So the employee be able to say I worked in this company and it was this. So if you're going for a job and you read these reviews, and a lot of these employees, most of them aren't disgruntled, to be fair. They're just telling you like it is. If you read that, to me, because I've made that mistake before, where I've read the bad reviews and still took a job, and then I've been like, yeah, they're bad reviews for a reason. There really isn't much of an excuse. I remember that. I remember taking a job as an account manager in a company a couple of years ago now, but 2 years ago. And every single report on it was bad. And I was unhappy in the job I was in. And I was like, man, it can't be any worse than the job I'm in. And believe me, it was. I mean, I literally walked out after a month. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I walked out after a month. I couldn't do it. And I ended up in the job I'm in now. So it all worked out quite well in the end. So maybe I should have took that. Maybe I was right to take that job because it actually worked out quite well in the end. Because if I didn't walk out, because the job I'm in now was temporary when I started. I only took it because I needed the money. I needed the job for a couple of months. That was nearly 2 years ago, and I'm still there. So maybe sometimes, maybe your boy is actually onto something. Maybe maybe follow your gut. Follow your gut. Don King needs to worry about the Rona sit his ass down. I don't think the Rona would even survive on Don King at this stage, to be honest with you, mate. Yo, big up to Lee. Yes, G man. Hope you're good. Man, I'm brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Has anyone caught up with the Panorama boxing doc from the other day? Caused a good stir. Yeah. Now, I'm going to be frank with you, right? I haven't actually seen it, and I don't particularly want to see it. Haven't heard what they've done. I've heard, I've seen so many people, as Judge Duran says here, Barry McGuigan is singing LOL and he needs to keep it zipped. I heard many people, okay, say that Barry McGuigan, it wasn't even the fact of you know what, it was more, he seemed just bitter. That's the best way you describe it. He seemed more bitter than anything else. That MTK took many of his fighters. So if you know what I mean, like his two biggest, if they had stayed with Barry McGuigan and Cyclone, Frampton and Warrington would be basically, not Frampton and Warrington, Frampton and Taylor will be making Don King some decent money. All right, that's just the way it is. But they're not, and obviously, there must be some. There's more to Barry McGuigan than meets the eye. There definitely is more to Barry McGuigan than meets the eye, irrespective of his stance on boxing with the documentary last night. There's definitely more to Barry McGuigan than meets the eye, purely because I find it very strange that Frampton and McGuigan, right, can be so close at one stage for Frampton to say that he wouldn't even, what, on the McGuigans in general. So there's obviously, that just doesn't come about from nothing. You don't just say it, like I wouldn't say it about anyone anyway, but that just doesn't come about for nothing. There's obviously more to the McGuigans than meet the eye. That's what I think. I think there's a lot more to them than meet the eye. Because Frampton never struck me as being like that, like saying something like that, unless he was it'll probably be after Frampton retires or something like that. He'll do an autobiography or something, but there's definitely more to what's going on than meets the eye. Definitely. And I do find that, do you remember Frampton's last fight with McGuigan? Right? Do you remember his last fight with McGuigan? Where, he didn't have the fight, where he missed the weight. It was in like July 2017. He missed the weight, and then all of a sudden his opponent the night before had a bit of a freak injury. I reckon that was the straw that, I reckon something happened. I reckon that was when they figured out shit was hitting the fan and something was going amiss. So I reckon that because I just found that all a bit too convenient. And it wasn't like Frampton missed weight by much. He only missed it by like half a pound or something. King got the WBO on string. You mean the WBA? Chisora taken off top 15. He beats Bogdandino, in your opinion, and he's set up third. Yeah, I don't even know who Bogdandino was promoted by, which is the strange thing, because he's unless I could be wrong, I don't know. God only knows these days. But I'm pretty sure he's not a Don King fighter. Fairly sure he's not a Don King fighter. So it's crazy. Obviously, the WBA and Don King have gone back a long way. Obviously, Don King was he was the guy back in the 90s. So obviously, he's got a good relationship with him. I mean, he has Bermainster, for Bermainster to be in the WBA or WBC rankings for 2 years, having only fought once in the 2 years a couple of years ago, was suspicious. But to put him at number 11 when he's not won a fight in how many years? I mean, come on. There's something really sinister going on there. Definitely. So Don King is doing something, definitely. He has to be. Big up to Ra, big up G-Man, big up to Visual Takes every time. Hope you're well. Yes, man, I'm absolutely I'm spot on, man. I'm happy as Larry. I'm absolutely happy as Larry. What's Joe Stunner say? Kira will be back, G-man. And I got the name right. So if she is in the chat, or she does, oh no, tell me, oh no. What the fuck did I do there? Sorry about that, lads. Is the stream okay? Because I'm after, I think I clicked on something. If you wouldn't mind letting me know, can you hear me okay? I literally clicked on something there and some big message came up on my screen. I'm like, ugh. Do you ever do that where like you're doing something, you're on a PC or something, and all good. Oh, that's perfect. Do you ever do that though when you're on a PC and maybe you accidentally click on a button or something like that, and you've actually you just like you change like a setting, you change the writing, you change like the zoom, and you've no idea how you did it. You have literally no idea how you did it, and you don't know how to get it back. You just like maybe say press a random button and the screen just kind of does a 180. And you're looking at it, you're like, ah, shit. How the fuck do I fix that? But yeah, it's all good. Yeah. I'm getting the names right tonight, Joe. Don't worry. Even the G-Man, are these channels getting copyright strikes because of using videos or just the image of the screenshot? It's just the image of the screenshot, man. It's just the screenshot. I like big up to Dell. Look who's here. Big up to Blue. Shout out to Blue Collar Sports TV. And yeah, Don King iced them. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the only copyright strike I ever got, for those who weren't in the chat earlier, was by Showtime. They copyrighted me when Wilder fought Brazil, when I did a post-fight review for that fight. And I literally, same as Dell, didn't do shit. Just, well, it was the first one, so I didn't do anything. I didn't even know how to counter the strike. I was just like, I thought I was in the deep shit when I seen it. And I was like, Showtime have this. I was like, holy shit. I didn't know what was going on. But yeah, literally, they're not even, they don't watch the videos, right? They just literally see the screenshot of the fight that we have as our thumbnail, and then they're like, oh yeah, copyright. I mean, Don King is 90 this year. He doesn't even, he's probably stuck in the flipping 30s. What? People make videos on YouTube and criticize me? How dare they? How dare they? Do they know who I am? I'm sure that's something like it. But yeah, Don King iced Dell. He got iced by Don King. And if you do it again, God knows what you'll do. But look, Dell, if Don King ever comes at you, if you just run, he'll never catch you. He'll never be able to keep up. If he comes at you with like a 2x4 or something like that, run. It's guaranteed he won't catch you. Oh man, big up to Helene, big up to Benjo, big up to the lads. But yeah, that video Dell uploaded there about Don King icing them was funny as shit. I laughed me heart out when I seen that. That was gas. What else we got? Might be worth signing with King if you're totally shit like Lovejoy, as you can get it. Yeah. If you're absolutely shit like Christopher Lovejoy, then yeah, sign with Don King. Get yourself knocked out. Look, if you're Christopher Lovejoy, right, and I can kind of see what he's doing here, right? If you're Christopher Lovejoy, better to get knocked out and make a couple of grand, because that guy, the minute anyone with even a pulse, I'm trying to think of a really bad journeyman like that I pick easily over Christopher Lovejoy. I'm trying to think of heavyweight journeyman, like really, really bad ones that I would easily pick over. Does anyone ever hear of a heavyweight called Byron Pauly? I'd actually give him, and Byron Pauly is shit, by the way. Trey Lippe Morrison knocked him out a couple of years ago. He is shit, right? He'd probably give Christopher Lovejoy a good fight. Byron Pauly. He'd give, and that's how bad Lovejoy is. So it's better to get knocked out for a couple of grand, maybe about 10, 15 grand on a Sky show than it is to get knocked out, by someone like that. I see what he's doing. Salute to Don King. Never do a deal with Don King. You must be brain dead. Man, that's what I said about Ting. You put that money in front of someone, a lot of people will go for it. Tom Dallas versus Don King. Seriously, or Tom Dallas versus Lovejoy. Seriously, lads, I would give Dallas a shot. I'd even give, and this guy is David Howe. I'd even give David Howe a shot, a good shot. against one shot. David Howe is bad, but he's not that goddamn flipping bad. So seriously, yeah, Joe, me and you are on the same levels. David Howe versus Lovejoy. David Howe looks like he. Do you know what? Right, for those who've never seen David Howe, if you see him at weigh-ins, he's like a 6'8" heavyweight, in shape, has abs. You think he'd be really good, and you only have to touch the guy's chin, and he is falling over, like a tree you just chopped down. That's the best way to describe David Howe. But even David Howe would give Christopher Lovejoy. I'd probably pick David Howe over Lovejoy. That's how bad he is. Seriously. Imagine David Howe fighting Lovejoy, then getting the top 15 ranking for the WBA. See David Howe in the top 15. How many first round? Too many. He was knocked out by Cash Ali in a round. He was knocked out by Dave Allen in a round. He was knocked out by loads in a round. I think Tom Dallas knocked him out as well, if memory serves me correct. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to box rec. I'm going to box rec him. David Howe. We'll look up some of these journeymen. I'm going to box rec him. What is he? Yeah, he was 14 and 11. I think he was stopped 10 times. I think he went the distance once. David Howe. Knocked out by Jay McFarrell. Jay McFarrell is garbage. Knocked out by Dave Allen. Knocked out by Cash Ali, Gary Cornish, Daniel Dubois. It took 2 rounds for Dave Allen, actually. Gorman lost to this, I know, the cruiserweight guy, Isaac Chamberlain, knocked him out, the big 6'8" cruiserweight. Got knocked out in 2 rounds by him. He was 50 pounds heavier nearly than that cruiserweight who knocked him out. And he was knocked out by another guy, David Ingeable, in a round. Man, poor David Howe. Poor David Howe. He has been knocked out so many times, man. Yeah, David Howe. I mean, poor David Howe. There were some journeymen that aren't great. And then there were just some journeymen that you just look at, you just think, how in God's name? How in God's name? Like Kamil Sakalowski, that's a journeyman now. He would. Yeah, Kamil Sakalowski would knock Lovejoy's spark out. If Sakalowski's a truck driver. That's what he is. But when people say that's his job. He's a truck driver. And if you gave that guy, now maybe he's a bit over the hill, now maybe he's a bit worn at this stage. He's been in a good few fights. But if you gave Sakalowski a good bit of a setup, he'd definitely be. He probably could hang at British level. Seriously, Sakalowski. He's not that bad. Glassdoor is a good site for anyone wanting to know a very rough advantage of a salary before going into an interview. Actually, I don't even look at salaries, Chris. And big up to Chris, Broken Nose Boxing, by the way. I don't even look at the salaries. I don't. For me, I'd rather be happy in a job and make fuck all money than be pissed off in a job and making a killing. Because if I'd stayed in that account manager's job, I'd be on a lot more money than I'm on now. But I mean, I did a month and I was like, get me out of this job. I don't ever want to darken this place again. I just couldn't do it. And I'm a lot happier where I am. Obviously, I'm not going to be where I am forever. Goes without saying. But for the time being, it'll do. It's grand. If boxers can't read the small print, yeah, oh man. Those contracts. Barry McGuigan seems like he knew he was going to get lined up after his speech. Yeah, McGuigan, man, he could be I never really McGuigan, like Shane McGuigan's a good trainer. But Barry McGuigan, even as far back as even when he was on Gunners of Frampton, I always looked at McGuigan was just like, ugh, there's something off. Frampton also admitted he didn't pay anything to MTK. That sounds dodgy as hell. I have no idea what way MTK do business, but as long as they're not ripping fighters off, that's all well and good. I like seeing the fighters get paid. I'd love to know what details went on between Frampton McGuigan and Carl Frampton. Yeah, Joe, exactly. I seen that as well. Like, I'd never seen Frampton so mad. I'd love to know. I heard someone say, and I'm not sure who it was, but they alluded to the fact that McGuigan, they took something like, I could be wrong with this, about 800 grand they were saying from Frampton, give or take 800 grand. So that could be something to do. Well, that definitely would be something to do with it. But it's just a weird one. I don't know what I don't know what's gone on. I'd love to know. I reckon in a few years. Frampton will be retired, right? Frampton will be retired by then, and then we'll probably get the whole ins and outs. Okay, this is what happened between me, and this is what happened between Barry McGuigan, because like the two of them at one stage, they were absolutely inseparable. Like they were just, the classic couple, the promoter and fighter working hand in hand. They were happy as anything. And now, I mean, Frampton was spewing some real hate. Like that was, you could like, I never heard Frampton talk so candidly about someone. Like there was real hatred in what he was saying about the McGuigans. And as I said, this is a guy who at one stage, seriously, at one stage, he loved the guys. They were like a second father to him. So it's bizarre. Bizarre. So, the McGuigans and Frampton, the McGuigans in general, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot going on behind the scenes with all them. I'd love to. I'd be curious. I'm wondering like exactly what did happen. It definitely all came to a head at Frampton's last fight. That for me was apparent. Frampton's last fight for McGuigan's, that's when it all came to head because he missed the weight by a little bit and his opponent had a freak injury or a freak accident. That was just a little bit too convenient for my liking. So I reckon it all came to a head there. Now, what exactly happened, as I said, I'm not 100% privy, but something definitely happened. Something's definitely happened there. That's probably when it all came to a head, to me anyway. That's when it all came to a head, as far as I'm concerned. Just give me 2 secs there, lads. Yeah, there we go. Apparently, McGuigan tried to throttle little Sonny Edwards, and a collie had to pull him off. Doesn't sound like a nice guy. Wow, really? Seriously? Jesus. Now, I don't have much time for the Edward boys. You'll know that. But really, he tried to throttle Sonny Edwards? Why? That's... I'm just thinking off the top of my head. The Edwards are MTK sound. They are signed with MTK. Yeah, they definitely are. Well, at least one of them is. I'm just thinking now. Do the McGuigans even work with MTK? Do they ever have any of their fighters? It's weird. What pick of Wilder was I using? I was using just a snippet of the fight. Just a little screenshot of the fight was what I was using. That's pretty much it. That's all I used for Wilder, to be fair. Nothing major, and I had no footage everywhere, so it was a weird one. I didn't get it. If you could, lads, please smash the like button. That'd be much appreciated. What do I think of James the Beast Wilson? I think he's better than Lovejoy, but that's saying something. I don't really hold out much hope in James Wilson, to be honest with you, mate. To be 100% honest, James the Beast Wilson, he's not really. He hasn't fought in 2 years. His last fight was a draw against some journeyman. Yeah, I'm not holding out much hope in James the Beast Wilson. Just to be frank, just not holding out much hope, man. James the Beast Wilson, he's too heavily muscled. Man, no way. No way. I don't really rate him at all, to be honest with you. Tyen Boot was speaking facts about MTK in his live. Then he stopped because Billy Joe asked him not to go in on them. Yeah, I remember watching that live, and I remember him saying that about Billy Joe, to be fair. That Billy Joe asked him, he was having good digs at MTK. And then, Billy Joe said, no, MTK aren't bad. And yeah, I remember that. Him and Billy Joe were mates. So, look, I've never had to deal with MTK. Never had to deal with MTK in my life. But to me, they seem perfect. They're not perfect. No one's perfect, but they seem fine. They seem to treat their fighters right. They put on good shows. They manage their fighters well. MTK as a company doesn't seem to bother me at all. They seem fine. They seem absolutely fine. Berman Stavern at 11, not Dino at 3, would beat Chisora. Had a bit of senior moment there. Yeah, meant Chisora would beat Stavern. Yeah, Chisora would smack Stavern all around the ring. Be an easy fight for Derek Chisora at this stage. Be an easy fight for Chisora. WBA are no longer world sanctioned bodies in my eyes, not until they discontinue. Yeah, I mean, that gold belt just came out of nowhere. That literally came out of nowhere, that gold belt, all of a sudden. Which means, what does that even mean, the gold belt? Because they're not even ranking the fighters, right? They're not even ranking the fighters. So, yeah, that gold belt is just a little, it's just, at this rate, there'll be an interim gold, silver unification. Yeah, like, I mean, when did that interim title become a thing? Like, I understand why you have interim titles, and if they're done right, they can work. And what I mean by that is, if you want to put an interim title out there because, right, let's say Dimitri Bivol, all right? I know this is a poor example because he's not really fighting anybody, but let's say Dimitri Bivol got injured, okay, and he couldn't fight for another 8 months. In that sense, yes, if the mandatory has an interim, wants to fight his next fight for an interim title, make him interim champion, and if the injury is so bad that Bivol needs to retire or something like that, then that's fine. That makes sense. That's no issue there at all. No issue there at all. But just giving it for the sake of it, I mean, come on now. That's just ridiculous. That's just absolutely ridiculous, man. Thoughts on the Panorama doc? MTK was more promotional film for Fury. Yeah, I heard they were really trying to kind of... See, I haven't watched it yet. In response to Darren's question there, have you watched the documentary, G-Man? I haven't watched it. And to be honest with you, I have no real intention of watching it, to be honest with you. I've heard enough about it. From what I've heard, it's just been a lot of crapping on boxing. Crapping on boxing. The BBC, who actually showed Lee McGregor's cash against Fight Farouk, or Cash Farouk, is, well, the BBC, I mean, look at the BBC's history, and would you trust them as far as you can throw them? No. But that documentary, I did get a glimpse at the Barry McGuigan part, and it does seem, he just seems bitter. It's almost like he's looking at Josh Taylor and Carl Frampton and being like, I can't even do his accent. He's like, they're making money and I can't do his accent. I think Barry McGuigan's from Monaghan. I can't do that accent. But it's like, they're making money and I'm not getting it, so I'm going to just crap on them, basically. That's what it sounds like to me. I cannot do Barry McGuigan's accent at all. That voice is one of a kind. That voice, I don't know how he does it. He has that squeaky, raspy voice. I can't do it. I can't do Barry McGuigan's accent, so I'm not even going to try. The defo, I'm missing the live. Well, Dave, I'll just let you know, if you're still here, I'm going to go live tomorrow as well. Yeah, you heard me. We're getting 2 in a row. I'm going live tomorrow as well, because I want to. Because I don't work Thursdays anymore, so I a bit more time these days. I only do 4 days a week now, which is grand. If there's one thing, right, when all this lockdown ends, if there's one thing I'll take, well, 2 things. I like working from home and I like the 4-day week. If there's 2 things I'll take from these lockdowns, I'll take them. I like working from home and I like the 4-day week. Because, and believe you me, you don't really notice the 4 days because you don't get taxed as much. Seriously, that's one of the perks. You're not making as much as you were in the 5-day, but when you consider 8 hours for all of 30 quid, yeah. Kamal beat Lucas. Joe, you're spot on. He won every single round against Lucas Brown. But do you know what was wrong? The Dave Allen fight was already signed and sealed. They'd already announced the Dave Allen fight before Brown fought Sokolowski. They were never going to give him that decision. He would have had to knock Lucas Brown out in order to get that decision. That was never going to happen. Some of those journeymen like Sokolowski are actually better than journeyman level. They just don't have the backing to get hand-picked opponents who fall over to get them to 15-0. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Sokolowski, he's got a good few losses. He's more wins than losses, though. But you wouldn't even dare pick You wouldn't dare pick someone like Lovejoy, who's 19-0, against Sakalowski. You wouldn't dare. But that's the problem. Like, a lot of these guys, if you look at some guys in Ireland, right, there are some decent. See, this is one thing about Irish fighters. Like, there's not many fighters out there who I would say are that good, but the fighters who do have that little bit of talent, they're fighting even before even before all this. If they fought 3 times in a year, and these are like people who are only like 2-0. If they had fought 3 times in a year, that's seen as amazing in Ireland. If you get 3 fights, like seriously, 2017, 2018, if you got 3 fights in a year, that's amazing. So these guys just don't get the fights. So they have to take these big short notice gigs, and they might actually have the skill to beat said fighter, but they just don't have the preparation or the experience. MTK trying to stage a series of fights between European boxers in Dubai during global travel restrictions seems a bit daft to me. Yeah, but there's no real restrictions in Dubai, so they can actually put the cards. That's why they're putting them on there. But yeah, the McGregor fight got pushed back again. Yeah, I know about that. Maybe it's not ideal time to travel, but I know it's easier for them in Dubai to put it on. But maybe it isn't ideal with everything, just because it's not exactly straightforward. Believe you me, I would have, if traveling was a little bit more straightforward, I would have been to several different places by now. But it's just not straightforward. McGuigan claims he was ripped off by Benny Eastwood decades ago, so it's been pinching Carl's money. He should have known better. Do you know what the funny thing is, right? If put it like this, right? Maybe this is just my way of looking at things, right? If someone ripped me off, right? So say, like, just for argument's sake, someone ripped me off. They said, "Yo, G, we'll do this, but they didn't, and they ripped me off." And I was in a similar position. My first reaction would be not. I know what's happened. It's happened to me. Fuck that! I'm not doing it to someone else. Obviously, the McGuigans don't think the same as I do. Obviously, they don't. But yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy. Barry McGuigan sounded more like his accent. I can't do his accent. I'll never be able to do that Barry McGuigan accent. No matter what I try, I'll never be able to get that accent spot on. It's such a unique accent. I just can't do it. Sonny Edwards talked about it on Head Movement TV. It's because he tweeted support for things people like Frampton. Really? Wow. Jesus. Is he still trained by Shane McGuigan? I'll just check here. That's crazy if that's the case. There's no way he's still trained by Shane McGuigan if that's the case. No way. Can't be. Is he? Is he still trained by McGuigan? Yeah. It's taking too long to load. No, but there's no way you'd stay with a trainer after that. Especially, so like, what? I like this fighter, so now I'm going to get strangled? Jesus Christ. Grant Smith. Thank you, Tony. And big up to Tony. Big up to you every single time, man. Big up to you, my man. Out of Steel City Gym. Yeah, I knew that, because I know Charlie was with Adam Boot at one stage, and then he left, and the trainer he moved to I never heard of. But what's good? But big up to you, my man. Big up to you every single time, bro. G-Man, if Pacquiao beats Spence and Crawford, do you think he's... Oh, man, yeah, hell, man. Yeah, big up to Will, but yeah, of course, Jesus. Yes, he's all-time, yeah. I mean, he's already got a claim to be definitely in the top 10 of all time, but yeah, if he goes and beats 2 guys who are high up in the pound-for-pound lists and becomes unified, well, he'd be undisputed then, wouldn't he? Because maybe he'd get... You'd have to fight Ugas, but he'd be certainly unified. At this stage, hell yeah. That wouldn't even go without question. Who would I pick between? Oh, Joe Joyce, and Joe Joyce again. Every time. The more I think about it, right? There's a pay-per-view coming up in April, allegedly. Now, I think it's going to be Kanzu versus Warrington on pay-per-view. Katie Taylor co-featuring, right? But I think it was Ade who said that he could easily see it if if the Junior Fat fight is not too punishing, he could easily see it being Parker versus Chisora on pay-per-view. Now, first things first, I would love to see that fight, but damn, if they put that on pay-per-view, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. They've done stranger things though, but I just could never see them getting away with that. Never see him getting away with it. James Wilson's going nowhere. James Wilson hasn't fought in near 2 years. He drew with a journeyman with a bad record, and yeah, man, like James Wilson is one of those. He's one of those guys who you see them in the gym. They're always in the gym. They're always lifting weights. They're always doing this. But that's it. That's literally it. When they actually comes down to fighting, there's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing there. Be careful. You never know who's watching. Do you know what? And this is going to sound funny, right? But as many of you will know, right? I don't tell many people. Maybe I haven't told you this before, but I'll tell you this now. Many of you will know, right? I don't tell many people outside of YouTube, like friends in my own life, that I do this. As many of you will know, right? Very few, right? And I had a chat with someone, right? Now, this wasn't a date or anything like that. This was just a friendly chat. And she said to me, now she's one of these girls who's like mad in tune with intuition and does all this kind of like reading stuff and all that kind of stuff. It's weird, right? And she was like to me, naming this girl. She didn't name the girl, but she was on about like some girl that I'm close to. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, she's watching you. And I'm like, how is she watching me? Because we're miles apart. And she's like, no, she's watching you. I'm like, how? She's like, do you do like videos or something? And I'm like, A, you don't know that. And B, she certainly doesn't know it. And that had me kind of spooked because I was thinking like, no, and this girl knows nothing about boxing. I was like, what the fuck? That's bizarre. I was really like, I was just like, that's weird. And I obviously never asked, said, girl, did you watch my videos? Because then I'd be like, what the fuck? She'd be like, why would you ask me to watch my videos? Says, I don't even know. It was weird. It was weird, but you do never know who's watching. No, you do. You never know who's watching. So just go on for like the last like half hour. I'm always worried about that camera being like acting up. Oh crap! I didn't read that. Big up to Joe Stunner every single time. Big up, man. Appreciate it, mate. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. I'm of the opinion that after Dubois' performance, Joyce beats most heavyweights. He's got more skill than I give him credit for. True. And I think he beat most heavyweights as well. I mean, like, do you know what it is, right? You bit like me, where it's he's deceivingly good, where you kind of bought the hype with Dubois, and Dubois still might turn out to be a good heavyweight, but you bought the hype. And then when you really delved in and watched Joe Joyce and you watched some of the amateur fights, you watched what he does in there, you just thought, oh no, because that's what I was like. Because I done the prediction, and then I watched a few more Joe Joyce's fights, and I was just like, oh no. I was like, there's no way Dubois beating this guy. I remember doing that and saying it, like my video over there was like, yeah, I fucked up. Simple as I fucked. There's no way that Dubois beating Joe Joyce. And it was mad because, as I said, like several times, I watched it with like a bunch of my friends, and they'd be just a casual fan. And they all thought, like, they'd heard of Dubois, but not Joyce. They actually thought this was a guy from like a traveling background, like a gypsy. They're like, a name like Joe Joyce. I'm like, yeah, because there's an Irish kind of like, I don't know what he is, like a bare knuckle boxer, and he's like proper traveler, like, and he's like, I'm big Joe Joyce. You don't want to fight me. I don't care. They all say that, don't they? Ever hear like when the gypsies do like a call out? It's always like, I don't care. They always say that. That's always like indicative of a call out. I don't care. And yeah, they were all like, Joe Joyce, this guy's terrible. I was like, nah, that's the way he always looks. But appreciate the super chat, bro, every time. Thank you so much for that, man. Who's the Bronze Dosser fight next? Charles Martin? I reckon. Charles Martin said he's going to go for the dint on Wilder's forehead. The dint on Wilder's forehead that he found on an autopsy, that was found out on an autopsy. His brother said that he's the only living man to have had an autopsy. When I watched Sporting Icons video when he announced that, and I laughed. I could not stop laughing when I heard that. A living man, a human being, a man, flesh and blood, after a fight, had an autopsy, and they found that. Well done, Marcellus Wilder. You never cease to amaze me. Being a pleasure, G-Man. Catch you soon. Bro, appreciate it. I'm definitely gonna make some videos this evening, because I took last night off because I was searching, but I couldn't find anything to really talk about. So I'll do a stream tomorrow as well. So catch you then, because I like doing these live streams. Because I love doing my live streams. Yeah, what does that say? She found G-Man's OnlyFans. Maybe. I was freaked when it was like this. She was like, "This girl's watching you." I'm like, "How is she watching me?" And she's like, "Do you do like editing or thing?" And I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, and I'm like, I've never told her that I do these fucking I love these, but I've never told her like that I do videos or anything like that. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, that's weird. It's just bizarre. Yeah, people loving that, like the OnlyFans account. Yeah, loving the OnlyFans account. Hashtag G-Man's Rocks. Big up to E-Machine. There we go. Yeah, loving the OnlyFans account. Crazy. G-Man, weird question. But who do you think is the most humble boxer for his achievements? Have to be Spence, Pacquiao, or Burns? Probably Pacquiao. Ricky Burns is a cool guy. I like Ricky Burns. A lot of time for Ricky Burns. I do think, though, at this stage, maybe he needs to call it a day. But Ricky Burns, like 3-weight world champion, yeah, some of the guys he fought weren't exactly the best in the division, but you still have to beat the guy in front of you. And, he is humble about it. Ricky Burns is a cool guy. Do you remember back in 2017, the talk of the fight was Josh Taylor versus Ricky Burns? I would have picked Josh Taylor to win, obviously, but that would have been a good pass under the torch fight. From like one Scottish guy to another, you're taking the banner. Even though Josh Taylor may not win a world title in 3 divisions, do I think Josh Taylor would? No. No. I don't think maybe. I know he is a big guy, but he might not win 3 world titles in 3 weight divisions, but I think Josh Taylor is. I think pound for pound, he'll be remembered as a better fighter than Ricky Burns. I think Josh Taylor's fantastic. What's next for Caleb Plant after the weekend? He got to take the Benavidez fight. Oh boy, he is going to hold out for Canelo. 100%, no doubt in my mind. Easy prediction. David Benavidez will knock Caleb Plant into outer space. Caleb Plant will not be able. Caleb Plant might look good for the first couple of rounds, but he will not in a million years be able to take any sort of pressure from Benavidez. No way. Not going to happen. He is, I'll tell you now, confidently, easily pick David Benavidez to knock Caleb Plant out. I don't even know, just literally no doubt. No doubt in my mind on that. G-Man, did you see AJ's latest interview? We said he really enjoyed punching Kubrat Pulev and cutting his lip. Well, see, AJ's always been vicious. He has. He's always been vicious, AJ. That's one thing about him. He's always been someone who we know about AJ. He always tries to come across as, the PC guy, the humble guy. But look, when he fought Dylan White and he was rocking Dylan White's head back, he was loving all that. He was loving throwing the shots. All right? He was loving all that. So Anthony Joshua, there's always been that mean streak in him. But he does play it, especially when he's on Sky or on these talk shows. He's always playing it. I'm the humble guy, but AJ has that mean streak in him. He does. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised he said something like that. Joe Joyce is especially dangerous for explosive punchers if they can't get him out, they'll struggle with that. Yeah, Joe Joyce will give those guys hell. Joe Joyce will give those guys absolute hell. If they need to get Joyce's respect early on. And if they don't get his respect, then he's just going to come. And Joe Joyce can box. Like, we've seen his jab is very good. We know that. So Joe Joyce is going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem for most heavyweights moving forward, in my opinion. Definitely. 100% Joe Joyce is going to be a massive problem moving forward for most heavyweights. I think him against Usyk is a good fight. It's a really good fight. It's a real interesting fight. I think Usyk would win, but I think that Joe Joyce. Oh, and here's the thing, right? I'm telling you now. Am I crazy for saying White is likely? I pick Joe Joyce to beat Dillian Whyte. I would. That's actually a really good question there by Will. If Joe Joyce came out tomorrow and said, right, I don't want the Usyk fight, I want to fight Dillian Whyte this year, then he's beaten Dillian Whyte. I think he'll out-jab him. I think he'd be more physical. He's got better engine than Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte lifts a lot of weights. He's artificially big. Joe Joyce is just naturally big. He is just naturally big. Joe Joyce is not the quickest heavyweight on his feet, but Dillian Whyte's not the quickest heavyweight either. I think that Joe Joyce, seriously, I think he'd stop Dillian Whyte. I actually think that would be, I'm not going to say it'd be an easy fight. No. But I think he'd stop Joe Joyce. Or I think Joe Joyce would stop Dillian Whyte. I think that relentless pressure, the jab, better jab, physicality, I think Joe Joyce beats Dillian Whyte. In my opinion. Just in my opinion. Could be wrong. I've been wrong before. But yeah, I'd be picking Joe Joyce every day to beat Dillian Whyte. That's actually a really good fight. I'm just thinking that's actually a really, really, really good fight. Benavidez is absolutely savage. Only Canelo can beat him. Even Canelo, I'd pick Canelo to win, but that's not a foregone conclusion. Benavidez is good. The problem with Benavidez is, and he misses weight from time to time. Comes in not in the best shape, takes fight on a bit of short notice, misses weight. They're Benavidez's biggest problems. If you can get over that and, progress and, do things right, Benavidez is a problem. Oh, he is a problem. He's a problem for most heavyweights. Or not heavyweights, super middleweights. Benavidez is a big problem. I think even if he goes up to light heavyweight, he's going to be a big problem. I remember at one stage, right? You had Jesse Hart, you had Zudo Ramirez, you had Benavidez, you Plant, who else you have? Callum Smith. These were all at 168 pounds, and these were bigger than a lot of the light heavyweights, which I thought was just bizarre that you had light heavyweights who were actually bigger than some of these guys, which is crazy. Who were like, you took me out who were bigger than some of the light heavyweights. Does Callum Smith? Yeah, he has to, man. He has to. I don't think he's going to, I wouldn't think he'd fare well at 175, to be honest, which I think he'd get lit up at that way. But I've been proven wrong before. Have you seen the picture of David Benavidez as a kid? You can see why he's a weight problem. Yeah, and as E-Machine said just there, right? He missed weight by 2 pounds, but if you see him in the ring the next day, like on fight night, he didn't look, if you see a fighter who's missed weight, you expect him to be drawn, drawn, face down, and this, that, and the other. But there was none of that. There's none of that at the weigh-in, or none of that even on fight night or anything like that. So it's just, to me, it's just that he's just a bit too out there, Which Ricky Charlo has beaten Canelo at 160. Well, it's not going to happen at 160. Can't see that. I give Charlo a decent chance, but I would still pick Canelo. I would still pick Canelo to win that fight, man. I would still pick Canelo to win that fight. I think Jamal Charlo's always impressed me. He's always impressed me, right? There's never been an issue with me not being impressed with Charlo. I just think that Canelo is just on a different level. All right, but definitely when I thought the Derevchenko fight be closer than it is. Definitely thought it is. Well, you never know. You never know. They might if Canelo can get like a one fight deal, possibly. But you'd really like the problem with that fight is there any like loopholes that like if Canelo fights Charlo, does he have to have this many fights on PBC? Does he have to defend against this PBC guy? You really want to be a kind of, in and out, kind of job. In and out kind of job. Or Ben, I have no idea. I have no idea. Yeah, 100%. I'd look, Billy Joe, I give him, I'm not going to pick him. All right, I'm not going to pick him. But I don't think he'll do as some people are making it out as though there's no hope. I'm not going to pick him, but I think Billy Joe could be interesting for the first half. But at 160, I give him a much better opportunity because it's going to come down to Billy Joe. Can he keep up a decent pace for 12 rounds? Can he move for 12 rounds? And how is his foot speed? His foot speed at 160 is a lot better than it is at 168. That's a fact. Anyone can see that. From the eye, you can see his foot speed is not quite the same. So at 160, move around the ring a bit better, speed's a bit better. Be interesting, very interesting. The problem with Billy Joe is, right? The problem with most movers, against someone like Canelo, you need to stay active. Like, look at Lara. Lara gave Canelo a load of problems a couple of years ago. But that was what you call running. Apart from the third round where he schooled Canelo, that was his school, and it was that third round against Lara. Apart from that, it was a lot running by Lara, and you just, in the close rounds, like me, I tend to favor the aggressor a lot more. Billy Joe taking less pay to fight Canelo. Really? Billy Joe wants this. Billy Joe wants this, man. Couldn't do a 2-fight deal, or they could do something like that, like what he's doing with Hearn at the minute. Could easily see that happen. I just worry that would PBC want to do, like, we want like, a 3 or 4 fight deal, and you have to fight this guy, that guy. It's just like, come on, man. We don't want that. We want to see the best. We want to see these guys fight. We don't want to see these fighters, not fight this guy because of promotional deals and stuff like that. We don't want that. We don't want that. Saying Billy Joe fight good for 6 rounds. I would not be at all shocked if after the first 7 rounds, because I think this fight's a distance fight, we see Billy Joe ahead on a couple of unofficial scorecards. There are unofficial scorecards, like, I forget the guy who scores for the zone, who might have Billy Joe ahead. But can he keep it like that? That's the thing. Big up to Intangible Boxing News every single time. Big up to you, my man. I hope you're keeping well. Tangible's got a good channel, lads. Give him a watch. Hype for Billy Joe, or hype for Canelo versus Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders has the best chance to beat Canelo compared to... Oh, yeah, man. That's the most competitive fight at that weight. Billy Joe is the only one at that weight that I think can give Canelo serious problems. Plant's getting knocked out. Smith's already been beaten. I mean, who else is there? There's Morata's at 160. They'll do Triple G versus Canelo at 1. If Canelo... do they want to do one undisputed or what? Because I reckon they might still try and do the Golovkin fight. I still think they might try and do that. I don't know why. I still think they might try and do the Triple G fight. I don't know why. Something just tells me they might still try and, pull that fight out their hat. I've seen it twice. I've seen that fight twice. Like, it's not a bad fight, but for me, I've seen the fight twice, lads. I don't want to see it again personally, but you never know. You never know. But him against Plant, Canelo all the way. Every day of the week, twice on a Sunday, him against Plant. Easy. Caleb Plant, he moves well. He is a bit elusive, but I just don't see it, man. I think he just cuts too easy. I think that's an easy one for Canelo. Gonna go work out, eat too many chocolates. Have a good night, everyone. Good vibes. Yeah, big up to you, Chris. I'm probably going to do another few minutes myself because we're doing this tomorrow as well. We're going to do two this week. Why not? We'll do another one tomorrow. But I finish off some of these chats. Eddie here might believe in Sky Sports. Yep. They're gonna go full tilt the zone. Full tilt the zone. That's what I think. And he will be the first undisputed super middleweight world champ. You're correct about that. He will be. I can't see any other way. Do you think Canelo will go near Beterbiev? If we see a decline, like a serious decline, like say Beterbiev goes in there his next fight and he struggles life and death, maybe. Maybe we will. Maybe we will. Lads, I'm on just a little over now. I'm going to call this one here. All right? I'm going to call this one here. I'm going to bring this one to a close. A big up to Tommy, Chris, Liam, Darren, all you guys. Shout out. If you could smash the like button, please. It'd be much appreciated. If y'all haven't already, just, as I said, I'd ask if you could smash the like button. I'd appreciate that. I want a big up. Where's Joe? Big up to Will, the judge. I got to give all you guys the shout outs. And big up to Joe every single time. Appreciate all that, by the way. Appreciate that. We didn't have any issues with names in this chat. Thank God for that. Thank God for that, because as remember Sunday, I really struggled. That wasn't easy. But big up to all you guys. Everyone take care, lads. I'm literally going to go. It's been a pleasure as always. Pleasure, always. I'm literally going to go. I'm going to record some vids. I'm going to upload them in the morning. And then tomorrow evening or tomorrow night, one or the other, we'll head live again. And we'll find something else to talk about. I've got a few ideas for what we'll talk about tomorrow's live stream, but I'm not gonna divulge them just yet. They're just gonna be predictions and stuff like that. But I've already given it, but you don't know who. So we'll do that tomorrow. Lads, I'll talk to you. Big up to Joe every time. I appreciate you dropping in. Lads, I'll talk to you.